Alan.
What you got for me?
Overnight parts from Toowoomba.
Sick.
Service. Alan's favourite pastime. Unboxing.
Bro.
What's this?
Overnight parts from Toowoomba, bro. A not broken camshaft. This is one of those window stickers that doesn't stick to stuff. So we got held up last time by a broken thrust plate on the camshaft from someone being rough some other time. So Woody got on the blower, 2 Golbies up in Toowoomba, and they have Camtech 272s in stock, multiples of, which is really good. So next day we have a freshly, hopefully not broken camshaft.
And am I right in saying it's probably better to have a new cam rather than a reground one? Reground's like old school stuff, is it not?
Yeah, well, when they reground it, they actually, to make it have more lift, they grind the base circle off. So then, to compensate for that, they have to mill other things down and all sorts of stuff like that. Some engines it's easy, some not so easy. But for the price of this, I don't know why you'd bother with a reground one, because it's bloody cheap. So,
and quick too.
yes. Also Australian made.
Look at you holding that away from your face because you need glasses. Man, you old.
I don't need glasses, I've already got them, I just don't have them on.
Much destructions there or what?
There's a few.
Does it say something about the cam retainer plate?
No, I think it's a generic one. Don't put the cam in upside down. Don't put the sprocket on backwards. Don't put it in dry. Don't wreck it. Done.
After the camshaft and retainer plate are installed, we can turn our attention to the lifter blocks. These lifters are hydraulic, so no adjustment is needed once they are installed. They are well lubricated with engine oil, and the lifter block is placed onto the engine and positioned onto its locating dowels. The rocker assembly is cleaned, lubricated and assembled. Al has also cleaned up each and every bolt on the wire wheel to remove the build-up of old engine oil sludge. Some assembly lube on the threads and the heads of the bolts ensure that they can be tightened to the correct torque as per the workshop manual.
Hi guys! Today we're vlogging.
A new timing belt and tensioner are installed, followed by the timing covers and the harmonic balancer. Alan, check this out.
RBs are alright, but it's no Cummins, bro.
You don't approve?
You gotta earn your stripes, dude. Well, this is the Distributor, or as it were, it's a crank angle sensor as well, so it's both engine positioning underneath here with an optical sensor, and also because it's coil and lead, single coil, it also just physically distributes. You can delete this if you get an aftermarket ECU and just use it as a sensor and put multi-cores on it, commonly done. Tom doesn't want that because he wants it to look like OG original, which is fine. One thing we will do though is we will get rid of this. This is the power transistor unit that drives the coil, and we're going to get rid of that because they're a known problem. You can't put too much dwell into them, anything like that. We're going to delete that and the original coil, and we're going to use an LS1 coil because you can put bulk dwell into those. They're a very powerful coil, also very cheap. So we're going to use one of those instead, as requested by Dave Forrester at Haltech, who is a legend.
You like your LS coils, eh?
They work good.
You also like
a lot of stuff on LS's works really good, hey? So
yeah. You also like Dave Forrester a lot.
Yeah, Dave Forrester is a friggin' legend. Nicest dude I've ever met, I reckon.
He's okay at wiring, I heard too.
Yeah, he does good. Look at this thing. Looks like the inside of a Sperry computer from 1978. Be gone, 80s trash.
Some number 3 Loctite works well to seal the cooling system components like the thermostat housing. Al also installs the heater hoses, which have been replaced with new items. Meanwhile, I'm busy prepping the valve cover for some new paint. The bottom half of the inlet manifold is bolted on, followed by the new fuel rail and injectors.
This is a new plenum top we're going to use. This is like an old thing from back in the, I don't know, 2000s scene in VL scene in Victoria, I think it's from. The only reason we're using it is because it looks like an OEM top, but it's got the forward-facing setup on it. So the original throttle body goes over the top there, and it makes it a bit of a mess of piping. So having a forward-facing plenum is a VL thing. So yeah, Tom wanted this one because it looks like a factory inlet manifold, and the reason it does is because they basically probably just cut off a NA manifold, made a plenum around it, and then taken a casting mould off it. So it fits a forward throttle body. Normally they just put XF throttle bodies on them which have no idle control or anything in them. They're a very, very old, simple throttle plate. Fortunately, it's the same bolt pattern as this AU throttle body, which has got a built-in buzzer type buzzer type idle motor, and obviously a TPS as well. So this idle motor works well with just about any ECU, especially Haltech. Does the job fine, single wire, so you're not using up lots of I/O. So we're just temporarily fitting it. I'm going to have to weld a mount off it for the throttle cable, and just an anchor point. So we just threw it on there just to make sure it actually fitted, because you never know. Fuel rail looks good, no dramas there. Got some Siemens injectors in it. I think they're like 750cc or something like that. So should do the job. Just waiting on Rodriguez to make a fancy valve cover for it so it looks like a genuine VL turbo. Wrinkle red for the win. Every valve cover should be wrinkle red in my opinion. Big fan. What up, Chutch?
Hey! Check this out.
Sick VL rocker cover. Genuine turbo.
Genuine wrinkle red.
Very good.
That actually turned out pretty kind of even.
Just don't spill anything on it.
Nah. You can put the oil in it. And you got that.
Reg.
GFB goodies.
Yep. Don't drop it. Mini reg.
They're a sweet little unit, eh?
Oh, that's cool. This is just the barb version, not the AN version, because we're not using AN much on this build.
Much?
Much.
And black too. I like
Black is
anodized black. It goes red with wrinkle red, you know?
Goes red with blah, 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 blah. We haven't used one of these before. It's an FXS GFB fuel pressure reg. We've normally used the larger ones that have got -6 fittings in them, so the body's larger and obviously the ports are larger for higher power sort of applications. This is sort of perfect for you replacing your standard reg, either so just to give you some adjustability of your fuel pressure, give you a bit more fuel flow, or for the purposes of, like, if you've got a NA engine that doesn't actually have a boost reference regulator, you need one of these for that as well. So if you like in this application, if you're turbocharging a non-turbo engine, boost reference gives you a lot more scope for fuel for the injector flow, because it's compensating for the boost manifold, boost pressure in the inlet manifold. So it's got a lot of fitting ports in it, so you can move it around to suit your application. You would have seen us trying to find a spot for it. That's always a challenge. I tend to try and mount these on the engine themselves, because if you put them on the body, or like especially on the firewall, you'll get drumming noises coming through. So if you do find yourself wanting to mount it on the body or the firewall, it's probably best to rubber mount it. But put it on the engine, it's not a problem. The engine's rubber mounted, it's making a bunch of noise anyway, so you're never going to notice it. So we've got a gauge on there as well, just makes it easy to set up, and also quick reference if you think you've got a problem, look down, got fuel pressure, no problem, off you go. So we're planning on putting that there, but we really need to put the engine in the car, because Murphy's Law says there's probably something there that's going to stop us doing that, which is a pain in the ass, but that's just how it is. So we'll leave that off for the moment, and we won't plumb anything more until we get the engine in the car, and then we'll move on from there.
I noticed there's a few more bits and pieces on the bench here, Alan.
There's always crap all over this bench.
Some goodies.
This is the turbo we're going to use. It's a GT3582. It's actually off a BA Falcon XR6 turbo. It's like a new unit, new core recode housings, because these things always die on Falcons from oil supply issues. This is a good match for this engine. 106 rear. It's internal gate. You didn't really want noise. Internal gate does the job, then whatever, as long as it controls boost. Hopefully it will, because these things got a pretty small wastegate flap on them, but we can always address that later.
Barra parts on a VL turbo, isn't that sacrilege?
Well, it's kind of a progression, because the BA XR6 turbo was kind of like the 2000s version of the VL turbo, so
True.
seems like a reasonable match. This is the exhaust manifold. This
Fancy
is the
logs.
Original cast manifold from a VL turbo. I had it machined by Matt to flatten it, because it was pretty old and it had a lot of scale on it, which also doesn't seal very well. So we had both surfaces machined. It's got a spacer on it. That is because this turbo is heaps bigger than the one that was on there. It only had a tiny little like Dunga 80s thing that was junk. Like, it's better than no turbo, but nothing like what we have these days. As you can see, it has got a twin scroll arrangement going on. A lot of Nissan manifolds are like that. The spacer, it's actually a slightly different size, because the old T3 flange is larger. The hole opening is larger than the GT flanges. So Woody's got on the die grinder and port matched it up.
I sure did.
So it progresses down smoothly.
I've now got die grinding filings blending in with my grey hairs.
They're good, because I don't. You finished that cover yet?
Hey,
Have you finished that cover yet?
that wrinkle red,
Yeah.
just over there, mate.
Why is it upside down?
I just had to snip off something to clear a ARP head bolt,
Oh, yeah.
which would have been good to know before we painted it and washed it.
I knew, I just forgot to tell you.
Cool. So that's all done, we can throw it on. You got a gasket for that now?
Sure do.
What else is there to do then?
Put the engine in.
So, turbo, inlet, throw the engine in.
Yep.
And lemon squash.
Too early.
Lemon squash this afternoon.
Sounds reasonable. You may notice that wedge shape on that valve cover there. That's because that's the tilt that the RB sits on. And for some reason they didn't want to see a tilted engine in this model, so they made a wedge shaped cover so it looked like it was straight.
Someone would say that's a Hemi orange and Hemi tilt, maybe.
So who would say that?
I don't know, someone like Marv.
Maybe.
Only a little bit of AN fittings, Alan, you said.
Yeah, well, you've got to have them in the valve cover. It's very important.
Al places the turbo on the manifold to gauge an idea of what fittings are going to be needed when plumbing the turbo. With the new turbo being mounted down low on the standard manifold, there is limited space to tighten the fittings with the turbo bolted on. The plumbing lines for the turbo are pre-made and fitted before the turbo is secure. We have used -4 200 series Teflon for the oil feed and -6 100 series for the cooling feed and return. The oil drain is using -10 400 series push lock.
I don't actually know if this is going to fit or not, but I hope it does.
With all the ancillaries bolted on, some new drive belts are fitted and the engine is just about ready to be bolted back in the car.
You do it, it's only a hamster. Turbo's all plumbed up. It's a bit of a pain in the butt because it's all low mounted and they can be a bit difficult to get at things, but we got there with a few adapter fittings and that sort of thing. The compressor cover of the GT35 ended up directly on top of the block outlet, which was very handy. So we had to do a bit of fiddling around there, but it's all good now. This other cooling line, one cooling line comes out of here, out of the back of the block here. The return will go back around and come into the top radiator outlet. We'll probably have to modify that because of the plenum. So we'll do that once it's in the car and we know where everything sits. Hopefully everything goes in all right, especially this, because that'll hurt my feelings if it doesn't fit, because I'll have to take this off again. So we're ready to put it in. We'll see how it goes. Looks like the inside of a Sperry computer. Big on 80s trash. Did I get it in?
No. Damn it.
Perfect. I never get it after I do that. Big on 80s trash.